I stared at the email on my laptop, my manicured fingers frozen above the keyboard. Final notice. Outstanding loan balance, $635,314. The numbers glared back at me like a wound that refused to close. The morning sun streamed through my apartment window, cutting lines across my silk blouse. Outside, Manhattan pulsed with its usual rhythm, taxis honking, people shouting, life moving on. But inside me, everything stood still. My husband, Mark, was in the kitchen making coffee, humming like nothing was wrong. The smell of roasted beans mixed with a sour twist of anxiety crawling up my throat. I clicked open the attachment, the mortgage documents, and there it was clear as daylight. My name, my signature, my credit. But I hadn't signed a thing. Olivia? Mark's voice floated in softly. You okay? I turned to look at him. The man I once thought I could trust with everything. The man who'd begged me 6 months ago, begged, to let it go when I first found out my brother had taken the loan in my name. I remembered his exact words. He's family, Liv. Don't ruin his life over money. But now the bank was threatening to take mine. My hand trembled as I closed the laptop. I think it's time, Mark, I whispered. Time for what? He asked, setting down his mug. I met his eyes, steady, cold. To stop being quiet. 3 years ago, I still believed that blood was supposed to mean something. Ryan had shown up at my apartment that spring morning with his usual charm, easy smile, baseball cap turned backward, acting like life never hit him hard. He'd always been the golden child, the one mom bragged about, even when he dropped out of college and bounced between jobs. Liv, you trust me, right? He'd said, pacing in my living room, waving a stack of papers. It's just a formality. I just need your name for a few weeks so I can qualify for the mortgage. I'll transfer it over as soon as my credit clears. You won't have to do a thing. I frowned. Ryan, that doesn't sound legal. He laughed, that infuriating laugh that used to charm every teacher we ever had. You're overthinking it. It's family, Liv. I'd never screw you over. My stomach twisted. The papers looked official, too official. Can I at least have someone look over them? He froze, then softened his voice. Liv, come on. You don't trust your own brother. And that's where he got me. He knew I hated disappointing people, especially him. He knew how to say just enough to make me feel guilty. I signed. A week later, he had the keys to a brand new house in New Jersey. And I had a signature that would haunt me for years. When I realized what he'd done, that the entire $635,314 loan was under my name, I felt the air leave my body. I called him, screamed until my voice cracked. He hung up. Then Mom called, telling me not to overreact. That Ryan was just trying to start over. And Mark, he told me to breathe, to let it go. It's family, Liv. We'll fix it quietly. But there was no quiet fix. The bank didn't care that it was family. They just saw my name, my debt, my credit destroyed. One night, I broke down on the kitchen floor, knees against cold tile, heart splintering in my chest. I felt stupid. Used. That's when I remembered something my late grandmother used to say. People can take your money, Liv, but don't you ever let them take your name. And that was the night I made myself a promise. If I ever rebuilt, if I ever stood on my own again, no one would ever use my name like that again. After that night, something in me shifted. I stopped waiting for apologies that would never come. Instead, I started waking up at 5 a.m., not to cry, but to work. The first thing I did was clear out the old. I sold the extra furniture, canceled every shared account with Ryan, and moved into a smaller apartment on the Upper West Side. It was quiet, nothing fancy, just me, a coffee pot, and a city that didn't care who'd betrayed me. During the day, I worked at an interior design firm downtown, making just enough to scrape by. But at night, I built something of my own, sketching layouts, researching design trends, learning how to market myself online. I'd sit on the floor with my laptop, eyes half closed from exhaustion, whispering to myself, "You can't lose what you build yourself." That phrase became my armor. A year later, I took my first freelance project, redesigning a friend's small bakery in Brooklyn. I poured every ounce of myself into it. When she reopened, local blogs picked it up. One article called it a space that feels like a warm exhale. That line still gives me chills. Soon, I was booked out for months. I left the firm, registered my business under my own name, Olivia Lane Design Company. And yes, I used Lane instead of Parker. I needed a name untouched by lies. Clients started flying me out to other states. My bank account grew. So did my confidence. I finally paid off half of Ryan's loan myself, not for him, but to free my name from his shadow. But I didn't flaunt any of it. Not on social media. Not in front of family. Every time Mom called, I'd keep it vague. Oh, I'm keeping busy. Oh, work's fine. And Mark, my husband, he saw me working hard but never really asked how far I'd come. He liked it better when I stayed quiet, humble, manageable. Sometimes I'd wake up next to him and wonder if he even realized how far I'd climbed. That the woman lying beside him had turned a broken signature into a thriving business. Then one afternoon, I got a call from a Manhattan real estate firm offering me a full redesign for their luxury properties. 6 figures. My biggest contract yet. I remember standing by my apartment window, city lights spilling across my face, whispering, "You did this, Olivia. You survived your own blood." That night, I took out the small silver locket my grandmother had given me. Inside was a single folded note she'd written years ago. "When they use your name, build one stronger." I smiled, because that's exactly what I had done. But the past never stays buried. And success always has a way of drawing out the people who once ignored you. It started with a text from Ryan. "Hey, Liv, can we talk? It's urgent." For a second, I almost deleted it. 3 years of silence, and now he wanted to talk. But then curiosity took over. We agreed to meet at my office, a sleek loft space I'd recently leased downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows, muted beige walls, and curated art that told my story better than words ever could. Every inch of that office was mine, earned, designed, paid for in full. I was reviewing blueprints when I heard the door open. Ryan stepped in first. His once cocky grin had been replaced by something tight, desperate. Behind him was Mark. My stomach dropped. "You two came together?" Mark didn't meet my eyes. "Liv, we just thought you'd ambush me?" I cut in. Ryan exhaled shakily. "Liv, I messed up, okay? The bank's threatening to take the house. I need help. Just temporary help." I looked at him, really looked at him. The expensive watch, the shoes that screamed bad priorities, the faint smell of cologne meant to mask panic. "How much?" I asked flatly. He swallowed. "About 400,000 left. I just need a few months. You're doing well now. I can tell." I laughed, quiet, disbelieving. "You think I worked 3 years to fix your mess just so you could do it again?" "Liv, please." Mark stepped in gently. "He's your brother. Maybe there's a way to." I turned to him slowly. "You begged me to stay quiet once. Remember?" He froze. Ryan looked between us, confused. "What's she talking about?" Mark rubbed his temple. "Ryan, I was just trying to protect the family." "No," I said, my voice steady but sharp. "You were protecting his lies with my name." I walked to the window, my heels clicking softly against the marble floor. Below, the city glimmered, free, alive, indifferent. When I signed those papers, I said quietly, I lost everything that defined me, my credit, my trust, my peace. "And you?" I turned to Ryan. "You went off to play house while I was rebuilding my life from zero." "Liv, I was scared," Ryan murmured. "I thought I could fix it before you found out." "But you didn't," I said. "I did." I pressed a button on my desk. The blinds lifted, revealing the full city view. Glass towers reflecting gold. Behind me, my company's logo shimmered across the wall. Olivia Lane Design Co. Ryan blinked. "Wait, this is yours?" "Yes." "Like all of it?" "All of it." The silence stretched. Only the sound of traffic below filled the space. "I've spent years cleaning up the mess you made," I continued. And now, the only thing I owe anyone is the truth. Mark shifted uncomfortably. Liv, don't do this. I turned to him, calm but firm. You had your chance to stand with me, Mark. You chose to keep me small. You didn't want a wife who was stronger. You wanted one who was quiet. His jaw tightened. That's not fair. Neither is fraud, I said simply. Ryan's eyes glistened. Liv, I'm sorry. I really am. I studied him for a long moment. I could see the little boy who used to make me laugh, who used to protect me on the playground. But that boy was gone. Ryan, I said softly, I forgive you. But forgiveness doesn't mean access. He frowned. What does that mean? It means, I said, moving back behind my desk, you don't get to use my name again. And for the first time, I saw it, the weight of realization in both their faces. That the woman standing before them wasn't their safety net anymore. She was the storm that had learned to stand on her own lightning. Ryan sat in silence, eyes fixed on the floor. Mark stood near the window, arms crossed, pretending to be calm but failing miserably. For once, both men who had silenced me for years had nothing left to say. I took a slow breath, letting the quiet work in my favor. The kind of silence that made people squirm, the kind that came from power earned, not handed. You want help? I said finally. My tone was even, almost soft. Then you'll have to earn it. Ryan's head snapped up. Anything, Liv. Whatever it takes. Good, I said. Because this isn't just about money. It's about change. I reached into my drawer and pulled out a small notepad, my grandmother's old habit I'd picked up over the years, and started writing as I spoke. First, I said, looking directly at Ryan, you're selling the house. The one you bought with my name. You'll use every cent to pay off the remaining debt. His face paled. Liv, that house was never yours, I interrupted. It was built on a lie. You don't get to keep the foundation of my pain. He looked away, but didn't argue. That was progress. Second, I continued, you're getting help. Financial counseling, therapy, whatever it takes. You have to learn what responsibility actually looks like. Ryan nodded slowly. Okay. Then I turned to Mark. His posture stiffened. You, I said, my voice steady, need to decide if you want to be married to the woman I've become, not the one you kept quiet. Mark frowned. Liv, don't turn this into something else. It already is something else, I said. I'm not punishing you, Mark. I'm offering you a choice. He stayed silent, so I kept going. If you want to stay, it won't be as the man who tells me to hush for the sake of peace. You'll have to stand beside me, not in front of me. No more begging me to protect others while you protect your comfort. He swallowed. And if I can't, then you'll leave, I said plainly. And I'll be fine. The look on his face told me he finally believed that. I tore the page from the notepad, folded it neatly, and slid it across the desk toward Ryan. These are the terms. They're not punishments, they're opportunities. You follow through, and I'll help cover the closing fees once the house sells. That's it. He hesitated. Liv, why are you even willing to help me after everything? I smiled faintly, because Grandma always said, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself first. He nodded, tears forming at the corners of his eyes. I'll do it, I swear. Good, I said softly. Then start by signing your own name this time. The air in the room shifted. For the first time in years, I wasn't reacting, I was leading. As Ryan left, Mark lingered, staring at me with something like awe and fear mixed together. You really changed, he whispered. I smiled. No, Mark. I finally remembered who I was. 2 months later, I stood outside the very house that had nearly destroyed me. The for sale sign swayed gently in the spring wind. The front yard, once manicured and showy, now looked quiet, humble. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger standing there. Just peace. Ryan walked out carrying a few boxes, his expression soft, lighter somehow. He'd sold the house, paid off the loan, started working with a financial counselor like I'd asked. It wasn't perfect, it would take years to rebuild trust, but it was a start. He paused beside me. Liv, I don't deserve your forgiveness. You don't have to, I said gently. You just have to deserve your next chance. He nodded, eyes shining, and got into his car. When he drove off, I didn't feel the old ache anymore. Just release. Inside my bag, I carried my grandmother's silver locket, the same one that had reminded me who I was when everything fell apart. I opened it once more, tracing the edge of her handwriting on that tiny folded note. When they use your name, build one stronger. I smiled. You be proud, Grandma, I whispered. Later that night, I came home to find Mark sitting at the dining table, a half-packed suitcase by his side. His face was tired, but there was a new honesty in it. I'm starting therapy, he said quietly. I want to understand why I thought silence was love. I nodded. That's a good place to start. He looked at me, really looked at me, and said, I don't know if I can earn you back, Liv. I met his gaze. You don't have to earn me. You have to earn yourself. There were tears in his eyes, but for the first time, they weren't manipulative. They were real. When he left for his appointment the next morning, I stood at the window, watching the city pulse beneath me. That same skyline that had once felt like judgment now felt like freedom. I turned back to my office, the walls filled with color palettes, sketches, the scent of fresh paint and blooming orchids. My life, my work, my peace. I picked up my phone to record a short message for a client, but my reflection in the dark screen caught my eye. The woman looking back was calm, strong, unafraid. And in that stillness, I realized something. Every time they tried to take my voice, I'd found another way to speak. I closed my eyes, whispering the final truth not just to myself, but to every woman who's ever been told to stay quiet. They took my name once, but I built one they'll never forget.